DB disciple. From my standpoint, we need to beat the Ravens from a morale viewpoint. Ever since they got away with that one Super Bowl game, so beating them will be big. I agree. Now, the one thing is, a lot of these players are younger. They don't know about that Super Bowl. Like, I just don't feel like back in the day, I think the history really mattered. That's one reason I do really appreciate George Kittle. I think some people get kind of down on him for his antics, but he's really taught. Like, I loved his like kind of F Dallas t-shirt because I feel, and I remember him going on, I think it was Rich Eisen or it was Bussin' with the Boys, or maybe he went on both, and he really talked up the 49ers Dallas rivalry and how important that was, and he talked about John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan showing rookie players old games and really trying to instill that rivalry in them. And I think there is something about football where the competition and the rivalry and the history is like a really beautiful, important part of the game. And I do think a lot of these players don't really, that stuff doesn't matter to them as much because so many players don't stick with one team their whole career. They're constantly moving throughout the NFL. So I don't think like for fans, like we can really hate the Dallas Cowboys or for me growing up, because I'm a little bit younger, I always saw the Seahawks as a huge competition because I grew up like my pivotal watching football years as a younger slash high schooler was when Russell Wilson was completely dominating in the Legion of Boom. I've told the story before, but I had a boyfriend in high school who his favorite team was the Seahawks, and mine was the Niners, and they were always like he'd be like, this was when he's why am I blanking? Richard Sherman. This was when Richard Sherman was on the Seahawks, and they did, it was just can you imagine? Can you imagine you during those years when the Seahawks just kill the 49ers every single game that you and your friend are like going back and forth? It was so unfair. They always won. I when I was learning, I got I taught I taught spin. This was me. This was me describing spin. So like biking spin classes. I taught spin classes in college, and my favorite spin instructor, Michelle. I should send her this. She would love this. I haven't talked to her in a year or two. She just ran. I do follow her on Instagram. She like broke her hip, and then like less than a year later ran like 100-mile marathon thing. I don't even. She's crazy. So she's so impressive. But she taught me, and she also taught my favorite spin class. And she was also a Seahawks fan. And I remember they won. Like the 49ers and the Seahawks played against each other. And this was during the Russell Wilson era. And but this wasn't even, I mean, I was talking about in high school. This was like 3 years ago. Like the Seahawks have just, it's so weird because now that they have Geno Smith, they don't even feel like it doesn't feel like a scary matchup anymore. But those Russell Wilson years, man, they won every time. She like wore a Russell Wilson jersey to the spin class after the game, and she had like a hat that she made me wear that was a Seahawks hat. It was a whole thing because I bet on the 49ers to win, and Russell Wilson just broke my heart every time. I forget what I was saying. I really like rivalries. I think that they're a fun part of the game. I think people that poo poo, some people are like, they kind of poo poo fans who get really into things, or like even in the game, I like to be really dramatic. Like if the 49ers suck in the beginning, I'm like, burn it all down, fire everyone. And then if they're good by the end, I'm like, woo, like 49ers are best team in the NFL. And sometimes I'll get people who kind of like comment and they're like, you should wait to react. And I'm like, the whole fun of it is to kind of like, it's like a roller coaster, you know? I don't know. Anyways, might have gone on a couple tangents there. This guy says, nice dad, yummy gifts. He's the best dad.